What does anxiety look like in the life of somebody who has experienced childhood trauma but has been called to ministry? Sometimes it looks like shame, being ashamed to admit that one has uncertainties about the future, that one feels unsafe most of the time in areas that would be presumed safe for everybody, that one may have trouble sleeping at nights, that one may have trouble falling asleep at nights because they're scared of, or they anticipate impending doom. They anticipate doom. Why doesn't this get talked about much? It doesn't get talked about much because of shame. Because people expect that when you know God or when you have a relationship with God, everything is either peachy cream or maybe for others all bad. I tend to live in the in-between. I tend to have days when I battle and days when I am hopeful. My hopeful days look something like this. I must have experienced something, some benefit or some blessing, and sometimes that just looks like maybe just a peaceful day, maybe having some scripture that spoke to me. In other days, whether the scripture spoke to me or not, I'm just having moments of fear. Why do I fear? People like me fear because in my mind, I've experienced more pain than blessings. At least that's in my mind. Why do I fear? I fear because I feel more discomfort than I feel peace. Why do I fear? I fear because sometimes when I look at the past, I see more bad things than good things. So that makes me feel more afraid of the future. And it makes me strangle the presence. What does the strangling look like? It means that I don't get to enjoy the days that maybe everybody else would, or maybe like everyone else would. I don't get to enjoy the beauty of things for long because my brain starts going back into the negative side. It starts questioning everything, and starts trying to make sense of the small things that many people won't see. Why do I need to talk about this? I need to talk about it because oftentimes all we see is a face, but we do not understand what lies beneath the face. That people have pain, and sometimes it's not even pain, it's a bunch of confusion, uncertainty, fear, and we don't always know where it comes from. We don't always understand where that comes from and why it's there. And for many people like myself, who thinks that she has to know everything and figure everything out, I spend quite a deal of time trying to make sense of myself. Why am I this way? Why do I feel the way that I feel? And then people like me, we tend to fear rejection. So we put up walls that nobody can climb over. People think they're over them, but most of the time, they're really standing on the outside because we don't trust enough to let anybody in too much. We may allow them into a certain space, but we don't allow them too far in because the fear of rejection comes up in different forms. It could be that we fear that when somebody gets too close, they say, no, I don't want any more of that. Or the fear could be like for myself, the fear of people leaving me or people dying. I tend to have fear of the people closest to me dying. I tend to fear that my husband, my parents, my daughter will die. Nothing happens. It's not that they got sick or that something happened and they somehow decided that, or something happened or they just left, but that's just the fear that I have. Sometimes I fear traveling. I fear traveling because I'm scared that I'm going to get hurt. I'm scared that I may be driving and something happens to me. Sometimes people don't understand that. That's why I drive slow. I'm very cautious. I'm scared to get on the plane. When I get on the plane, I'm fearful that I'm gonna die. I have to know everything. I have to listen to the flight attendants. It doesn't matter how often I've traveled, I listen to them. I want to know all the cues. I want to know everything that makes me feel safe, so that if something happens, I know how to take care of myself. I know how to get out of it. That's what anxiety looks like in my life. So what do I do when I feel this way? I can do several things. Some work and some don't. I shut down. I remove myself from social places. I tend not to want to answer my phone or talk to anybody. But the thing that I do that probably is the most beneficial to me is that I pray and I read the scriptures. That's what I do. Does it always work for me? Yeah. But I find that I have to keep going back. So I feel like I need to share what prayer for someone like myself who struggles with anxiety may look like. November 19, 2020, 10:40 a.m. Dear Lord, I am scared. I am scared of myself, scared of my failures, and I'm scared of the future. I'm scared that those I love the most will die and leave me. I'm scared that those who bring any form of good to my life are not there to stay. I just don't feel like, Lord, I give my fears of my future to you. I give the fears of my family dying and my loved ones leaving me to you. Lord, I give you my heart's desires. I give you my desires for her earthly success and my fears of not achieving it. I give you, Lord, my fears, all of them. I give you my anxiety disorders, the ones that plague me, that sometimes cause me to overact in my relationships with people or not be able to sleep well at nights. Lord, I give you the keys to my heart, where all my thoughts, fears, and desires live. Lord, I give you me. May all that I am praise you. There are so many techniques that are there to calm anxiety disorders. And they work. They do work. But there's nothing there that can cure them. The only cure that comes from God. I don't know if God will ever cure me of this, but I know that He will always sustain me. He will always make sure that I'm okay. He will always make sure that when it's all said and done, I'm going to be okay. And so I hope that if you experience anxiety disorders, if it's as bad as mine or mine is probably not as bad as yours, that you will find some peace in knowing that everything will be okay. Even if you don't know fully how, if you do not understand how, just know based on what God says in His Word, His eye is on those who honor Him, who place their hope in His love and trust themselves to His care. Psalm 34, Verse 18. You're going to be okay.